Okay, these are the two new gas monitors we're going to have. This is the QRAE3, it's a 4-gas monitor, and this is the MultiRAE, it's a 5 or 6 gas monitor, depending on which ladder you're on. The MultiRAEs are going to be on ladder 5 and ladder 6, and the QRAE3s are going to be on all the engines, ladder 1, battalion 1, and the FRM. And I assume ladder 8, we haven't decided that yet. To turn these on, you just hold down the power button. On this one, it's just the circle with a line through it. Hold it down until it lights up and makes a loud beep. Now that one's going. This one is just the middle button. Alright, these are just warming up right now. They're not actually testing anything. They're just like you turn on a computer, take time to warm up. The QRAE3s take roughly a minute to warm up. The MultiRAEs take about 1:45 to warm up. As soon as they're done warming up, they're going to prompt you to do a fresh air calibration, and it'll just say it right on the screen. You have two options. You can either hit select and start a fresh air calibration, or hit abort, and it just goes straight to the main menu. Every morning when we're doing this, we want to turn it on. After it warms up, do the fresh air calibration, and then there's something else we'll talk about in a second. So while that's warming up, I'm going to talk about what each one does. The QRAE3 is the 4-gas monitor, and it's going to do combustible gases, the LEL, carbon monoxide, CO, oxygen percentage, and hydrogen cyanide. That's a new one. Our old ones didn't do that. I'll get more into that in a second. Right now this one's done with its warm-up, and it's prompting to do a fresh air calibration. It says it right on the screen, just start or quit. Since we're just starting, we're going to hit start, and it's going to do a 30-second fresh air calibration. As soon as the MultiRAE is done, you do the same thing, but it takes an additional minute to do a fresh air calibration instead of 30 seconds. These MultiRAEs on ladder 6 and ladder 5, they do the first three, the LEL, carbon monoxide, and the oxygen percentage. They do not do the hydrogen cyanide, but they do have hydrogen sulfide, and that's a heavier gas, so it's going to be more down in trenches, and that's why ladder 6 for rescue operations, and ladder 5 just because they're the hazmat. They also have a volatile organic compound sensor, and the difference between ladder 5 and ladder 6 is ladder 5 has the additional ammonia sensor. Alright, this one is done warming up, so we're going to do just hit start, and it'll do a 60-second fresh air calibration. The QRAE is done with its fresh air. Everything says pass on there, so we're just going to exit. And now we're at our home screen. Everything should say zeros and 20.9 for the oxygen percentage. You know you're at the home screen because you can see this little bell icon. Every morning after we start it up and do a fresh air calibration, we're going to put our finger over this filter on the top. That's to feel a suction coming out and to make sure that the alarm will sound. As long as you're on the home screen, there's a little bell there, and that's how you turn off the alarm. You can also scroll through, and it'll say peaks, minimums, short-term exposure limits, time-weighted average, say the temp and time of day, and here's where you can see the battery percentage. It says 85%. If it's ever 50% or lower, we're going to go ahead and recharge it for the day before we do anything else. If you do end up blocking that again, there's no bell until you keep scrolling all the way through to the home screen where there is a bell where you can turn it back off. You're going to do the same thing with this. Just every morning when you do this, go ahead and block it. It's lighting up. The little bell's on the opposite side here, so we're going to turn that off. They both have the whole scroll through and mins, maximums, short term. battery percentage, it's the same on both of them. These are not, they also, on this information here, I wrote over ranges, and that's just a large amount. You don't want to get to that over range if it's percentage or parts per million, because it can supersaturate the little sensor in there, and it can ruin that sensor. And the only way to get a new sensor is to take it to 5, and the techs out there, the hazmat techs, can replace the sensors. I believe they're around $350. So these aren't to be put in front of an exhaust or anything to try to get a reading, because you'll hit that over range real fast. Also, at a fire, these don't go into the fire with like the initial attack crew, because there's so many bad particles out there that can really mess this up. This is for after it's been ventilated, windows open, fire knocked down completely, mostly to see if you can get your SCBA taken off. On both of them, the LEL is set to methane, and no matter what kind of gas it's reading, any combustible gas, it's going to assume it's methane, because that's what it's set to. Methane's flammable range is from 5% to 15% of all the air out there. So if it's not enough, it's too lean. If it's above 15%, it's too rich and it's not going to burn. It has a low alarm and a high alarm at 10% and 20%. That doesn't mean like a really soft alarm. That just means first and second alarm at 10 and 20%. And what that's saying is when you have that 5 to 15% flammable range, if that's at 10%, it's only right here. When it hits 100%, it finally hits the very bottom of the lower explosive limit. So you have a 90% safety factor, if that makes sense. Also, it's set to methane, which is 5 to 15%, but if it picks up something like gasoline, that's flammable range is a lot lower, like 1 to 1.3, somewhere in there, as it's lower, it'll assume it's methane. So if it says 10%, you may actually be closer to 40 to 45% if you're not actually picking up methane. So even if it says 10%, 20%, you still need to figure out a way to either back out of that situation, ventilate it more, figure out what's going on, because unless you know you're at methane, you're not as safe as you thought you were. These also have a response time. I put it on each one, which means you can't just run around through a building and come back and be like, oh, this is what readings it is. You may pick up something, but it's not going to be an accurate reading. Most of them are 30 to 15 seconds. However, ammonia is 60 seconds to pick up exactly right. Only ladder 5 has ammonia. On this one, hydrogen cyanide takes 200 seconds to get an accurate reading, so 3 minutes and 20 seconds. So it's very important to have SCBA on if you're checking for that, because the IDLH is only 50 parts per million, so you'll probably die about 3 minutes before you get a reading if you're checking for that. Also, at a hazmat incident, these aren't for right in the hot zone. These are kind of to figure out the outside edge, because you don't want to hit that over range. Any kind of silicone spray or Armorall will kill the LEL sensor, so don't have these on and running if you're going to Armorall on the vehicle or spray any kind of silicone spray. It'll just mess it up. Also, these need to be bump tested once every month. There's no set day on that as of now. They'll figure that out. But that, in easy terms, that just means you're putting it in a little machine they have at 5 that puts a little bit of each chemical in there to test each sensor. And it takes roughly 15 minutes. As of now, I've been told they're going to put that on a just separate piece of equipment and drive it to each station, so everybody doesn't have to go to station 5 once a month. That could change, but as of now, that's the way that is. They need to be calibrated once every 3 months, but that's exactly the same. They just hit calibrate instead of bump test. Our little air gas monitors, the little yellow ones that aren't multi-gas like this, as of now, we're going to put those on our cardiac monitors and just turn them on before medical calls, just for a little extra safety factor for us. just do medical just like we normally would, but if something starts alerting, it may tell us that we're in an environment we shouldn't be in. Maybe back up, go get one of these and figure it out. All our other old multi-gas monitors are going to get picked up here in a couple weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, and all these will get given out everywhere. The old ones will be spares at Station 5. As of now, we didn't have enough funds to get spares of these, so we just have Frontline going out right now. To turn these off, you just do exactly what you did to turn them on. Hold down the power button. You have to keep holding it down. They'll start a 5-second timer, and you got to hold it down the whole time to turn it off. Same with this one, just hold it down to turn it off. Make sure you hold it the whole 5 seconds. To charge these, you have to put this adapter on the bottom. It only goes on one way. It's got 2 holes on this side and 1 hole over there, 2 little pieces of plastic sticking out over here, and 1 on this side. And there's a little light, and it'll go towards the front. You just push it straight on, and to charge it, you just get one of these, plug it right in on the side, plug it in anywhere. These are only used while we're charging because they're 95 bucks. To pop it off, you just push both sides and it pops right off. And it just stays in the case unless you're going to charge it. These are also $95, just like that one. These don't go straight on like that did. You kind of start from the front and kind of slide it on. If you put it on straight, or right, it slides on real simple. You don't have to force anything. Same thing with the plug-in right on the side. And this thing on the front you can plug in. It's the same on both of them. It's for the guys at Station 5 if they want to get information off of it or update something. That's not for most people. To take it off, it's not the little buttons on the side. There's a button on the back. You kind of push down and back, and it slides it down like that, and then it comes right off real simple. Yet again, $95 and very easy to break. We wanted to make sure everybody knew how to put those on. We've talked about making some type of cheat sheet that has a lot of the same information I made right here, just on a laminated card specific to each one. I don't know how all that's going to work as of now, but I've talked to Ty about that a little bit. That way, whoever's using it has a little cheat sheet. The filters on top just screw in. It's a little plastic thing with a white filter on the inside. If anything's malfunctioning, not getting good readings right after you do your fresh air calibration, these only cost about $2 a piece, so take it off, switch it out for a new one. It's a lot cheaper than replacing a sensor. Just the first step of kind of problem solving. And they're interchangeable between each monitor, just very simple. If anybody has any more questions, that's all I have without questions.